Hey, this is Brian Smith with Podcast on Wheels, powered by Power Loops. Today we have a special guest in the studio, a guy that I just met a few weeks ago. I've grown to respect tremendously the things that he's been able to teach me today. Just mind-blowing stuff here. Today we have Mr. Hudson Wikoff in the studio. Thank you for being here, Hudson.
Brian, so excited to be here, man. This is literally one-of-a-kind studio. I've never seen anything like this. I've been on other podcasts before, but literally, like, this is putting those to, I don't want to say to shame, but this is different, man. This is different. It feels different here. It's awesome. I love the environment.
Thank you. Well, the energy today is brought from some of the things that I picked up from you a few weeks ago that we'll get into. But Hudson, where does your story start? What brought you to where you are now? Where do we start?
Yeah, great question. Where do we start? You know, as a kid, I grew up in a small town, Fulton, Illinois. We had 69 people in my graduating class. It was one of those towns to where you got one stoplight, 10 bars, and 12 churches. And it's just where you stayed. Like, you don't get out of there. You don't leave there. You find a local job, just whatever they have available. I started working at a DuPont, a local plant. There's a 3M facility. There's an Elco, right? There's those plants that are there that just you make your living and people stay. But I chose a different path. I went on to play Division III college football at Augustana College, met some great friends, ended up getting a job again with DuPont, who transferred me to Indianapolis, Indiana. Good. All this time, I had built back when I was living at home in my mom's basement, of course, like a respectable college graduate would do, I used, again, her money to start a garage gym. Okay. And that was back in 2010, really when I started my coaching career in the health and fitness world. DuPont transferred me to Indianapolis, quit working for DuPont, left 401k, benefits, pension, all the investment funds vested right with them, left that behind to go start running a gym. And took about a 67% pay cut to follow my passion, and never looked back into the corporate world since then. Started building out an automated online fitness coaching business, and I said, hey, why can't we do this for others? And then along comes the world of AI for the average Joe, and started building out my business with that. And I was like, hey, why can't I help other people with this? And that's kind of ultimately what brought us here today. Got connected with some mentors, that connected with other mentors, became a coach in the program. I met you at the last event, and yeah, that's why we're here today, man.
Awesome. So Hudson, take us back to your football days, and what position did you play? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was a All-State. I made All-State team, but it's a division, or not division. It was, what were we, 2A, 3A, something like that. So small school, linebacker and tight end in Illinois. And I graduated back in 2006, so dating myself a little bit there. Went on to play college football at Augustana. I was a free range linebacker, so it was a really cool defensive front that we had. We had 3 down linemen, we had 2 linebackers, about a yard off the ball, and then I got to play about 6 yards off the ball. I still had a safety behind me, but I was allowed to kind of free range. It ended a little bit earlier than I wanted to. One of my friends intercepted the ball and went to make some blocks, and ended up tearing my ACL, MCL, and PCL.
Ouch.
Non-contact. I came back the next year after some rehab, of course, and it was on a kickoff that I re-tore the same ACL and then got the meniscus this time. So, but then had the fortunate opportunity to go on to coach at that college. So that's actually where my coaching career started in 2009. Got to go overseas, coach over there, came back, and then that's when I started up the gym at my mom's.
Awesome. And I do... There's a little bit of CrossFit in your background, right, too?
Yeah.
Is that, what about CrossFit? How does that fit into your...
Yeah, it's interesting. Whenever I had football strips, because I started playing at such a young age, I don't know, 3rd grade, 5th grade, whatever it was who I was. It was my identity. Yeah. And when I had that stripped away from me, I didn't know, what do I do from here, right? And so I gained some weight. I felt depressed, and I started having all these issues come on. I was like, man, I got to figure something else out. And that's when I discovered CrossFit. Got into the world of CrossFit, found out paleo diet, started learning a little bit more about nutrition, lost the weight, started getting stronger. And then actually in 2014 was part of a team that went to the games out in California. So was able to accelerate my career path, athlete career path within CrossFit very quickly. 2015 was team, 2016 was individual. At the super sanctionals, that's when they made the switch that year, made it a little more difficult. And then basically, quote unquote, retired from the sport. I think it was in 2019.
Okay.
Went on to Olympic lifting and was doing, qualified for the AO finals. And that was going to be at the Arnold.
Okay.
And was throwing 300 pounds over my head, snatch, right? As I'm getting ready for the AO finals. And I was changing the siding on my house. Dislocated my shoulder changing siding. So that put an end to that. And then it was kind of the same thing. It was like I lost my identity again with losing CrossFit. And so, but long story short on that, I know this is kind of going off topic a little bit, was I kept realizing that I was, after my identity was stripped away, is that I would go back and kind of fall back into these habits that I didn't want to do, gaining the weight, feeling unhealthy, feeling depressed. And it was really when I switched my identity to like you were talking about, who I was, not how I was doing it and the things that were involved in my life, but who I was. And it was like, I'm a father. I'm someone who's trying to be showing up for my kids differently, for my wife differently, and started putting meaning more into those types of things that have more of an external type of a ripple effect rather than just focusing on me, is when it just became more of a lifestyle. It's like, I don't even think about it anymore. Like, living a healthy life is just who I am.
Awesome. And you do have a beautiful family. I remember seeing a picture in Vegas. So tell us a little bit about your family. And like, you've known your wife for like 100 years. Is that what you said? You dated her for 50 before you popped a question. Was that right?
Yeah. So we both came from the same school. She was a year ahead of me. Okay. In Fulton, Illinois. And so I remember my first memory of her goes back to probably 6th grade, middle school. She was in 7th grade. I remember her out on the track field looking all fine and stuff,
Nice.
She was a sprinter. And so, of course, I'm sitting there on the sideline just watching her and thinking like, oh, man, she's way out of my league, right? Kind of forget about her for the next couple years, right? Because I didn't think that there was ever a chance. Fast forward into junior year, and we were in the same chorus class. Yeah, I sang. I will not sing today. I'm not a good singer. But I only joined that class because she was in it.
I hear you.
Right? I knew she was in it. Right. And so I was like, I'm going to go ahead and join this class with her. So I'm kind of, that creepy guy in the corner, like looking at her and every so often. But during breaks is that when we have the chance to kind of mingle. And so again, her being a year older than me, I knew some of the boys, and I was close from the guys in that class. And so I became close with those guys, built relationships with them. And so we started hanging out in the same circles. And she had a boyfriend at the time. Okay. And the closer we got, I knew that there was a chance. And so I ended up pulling her away from her boyfriend, not sorry. And the rest is history. Awesome. So it's been 20 years going. This year will be 20 years. And it took me 10 years to pop the question. So, so we literally just celebrated. I got back last week from our 10-year anniversary trip down the Bahamas. We had the awesome opportunity to go down there. First trip in 7 years without the kids. We have a 7-year-old Palmer. She's a dancer. She's creative. She's crafty. She literally gets, she got the title of the craftiest person in her school. Interesting story about her is that she's always been super shy her entire life. But I've been working with her on like affirmations every single night before she goes to bed. We say affirmations. We do a prayer. We almost build it into like a kind of like a theta mind wave type of a setting, right? Like almost like a meditative type of a state. And we've been doing this probably really solid, I'd say, for 2 years. And she came home the other day, I think it was Valentine's Day, and my wife's like, tell daddy what you did at school. And because again, she's always so shy, right? And I was like, what'd you do? And she didn't want to say, right? And so my wife told me, she got up in front of the entire classroom and sang a song. And I was like, what? And so I took her to dance that night. And so I was kind of asking her about it. I was like, what? So tell me more about this. What happened? She's like, yeah, I went up and I asked the teacher at the beginning of the day, can I do a show and tell today? It was just randomly, right? And teacher's like, yeah, of course you can. The end of the day came, the kids were grabbing their backpacks, and the teacher never invited her up. So she had the courage to get up and go ask the teacher again and say, hey, you never let me do show and tell. Can I do it? And the teacher's like, yeah, I don't even know what you're going to do. And so she got up, she stood in front of the entire class, sang a song that she made up that morning about Valentine's Day. And I was like, that just freaking just melted my heart and just warmed so, because it's like the work that we've been doing for 2-3 years has literally started to come to fruition. So that's my 7-year-old. My middle child, Tinley, she is 4.5, going to be 5 here in May. And she is, if you guys got 3 kids and listening to this, you guys know what that middle child is like. She's crazy. She's fun. She's got all the sneaky energy that a middle child has, right? My little man, Paxton, he again is going to be 2 here in May, and he's just a little Wreck-It Ralph. He will destroy everything, but he's a blast, man. Our kids, amazing. I'm very blessed. Like I said, I outkicked my coverage with my wife. She's beautiful. My kids are amazing. Very, very fortunate there. And
awesome. Well, Hudson, you're a good-looking dude, so yeah, but you still kicked your coverage. I do agree, because I have seen a picture. But so as you were in football and you had a setback, and then you're in CrossFit, you had a setback, and then you're getting ready for this and you had a setback. What inside of you has been the driving force or something to say, hey, I want to be this person? Well, is that the family? Is that this, let us know, what is a guy like you? I mean, a lot of guys get hurt playing a sport and then they're working at DuPont for the rest of their life. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So what prompted you?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I don't know if I've ever gotten to the root cause of that, cause whatever we want to call it, right?
Sure.
The root of that is, my mom always tells this story. Anytime she's around me and she's talking to other people and we're kind of in the same group talking, she'll like, I remember when he was in 5th grade and he did detasseling. You know what detasseling is?
No.
So you walk the rows of a cornfield, literally for acres, and you pull the tassels out of the corn, or the male corn, so that way it doesn't germinate, or I don't remember what it was, right? The reason that we were doing it. But you go out there in the morning and they'd be covered in dew. And so we had to wear long sleeves and trash bags on us so we wouldn't get wet and soaked for the rest of the day, because we're out there from early morning to late in the afternoon. And if you didn't have long sleeves on, then you were getting cut up from the corn. Plus, then you had to have a mask on, and all. It was the worst conditions.
Right.
I would never do it again. But I would come home as a 5th grader, bawling my eyes out every single day whenever I got off that bus. And I'd cry about it. I'd go up to my room, pout about it, whatever. But the next morning, I somehow was just like, time to go to work. Like, we're going to get up and do it. And so I don't know where that came from. Maybe it was something that was ingrained in me at a very, very young age and subconscious level, that I saw my dad putting in the work. He was a commercial roofer. He owned a business in greenhousing. And so maybe it was just subconsciously that I just saw my dad, the amount of effort and work that he put in, that just was instilled into me. And I was like, there's nothing that, like, I may not love it, I may not, I may hate it, but I'm still going to find a way to get it done.
Yeah, that's amazing. So now fast forward to today, and, we're sitting in here before the show, and you've got your laptop open, and you're showing me videos with, hey, look, Ma, no hands, right? And your computer was working. So a guy my age looks at it and goes, okay, well, that's some kind of trick. There's somebody over here typing. He's not doing that. Kind of enlighten us on what you do now, how what was that?
Yeah. So basically what I do now is I'll go in and I audit businesses. I look at their advertising, their marketing, their sales, their fulfillment, their internal systems and processes. And I look to see how I can help them, how I can help. One, give them time back so that they can spend more time with their family, because that's what's most important to me. And then 2 is, how do we make more money? Because with more money, abundantly for ourselves, like you said earlier, is that how we can start to go help other people. So those are my 2 main objectives in finding that. So where can we implement an automation and AI within a business? And so that's a small piece of what I do. It's creating, building, and training bots, our automations, on how to automate work essentially for us, the mundane tasks. So one of the things I was showing you that you're just talking about is lead generation. So lead generation typically for most people is very costly, very expensive. And then what do we do after that point? Like, oh, we got to pick up the phone call. We got to write them an email. We got to send them a text message. So what if we could automate that entire process? What if we could have AI and a bot actually go and filter out and find leads for us? And that's what you're watching, right? I trained the bot once on how to do this, basically by following my click path. And then it continues to learn based off of that. And then I had that video just literally like, look, mom, no hands.
Shit.
The bot was doing the work for me. So it's literally going out and finding that. And now it's going to automatically upload a CSV file into my CRM system, into an email sequence that goes out, an SMS sequence that goes out, which again, AI helps me build to save time, sends it out. And then what you saw at the program event. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The video on the donut website. Yes.
The video on the donut website,
Yeah.
to where, we can have people fill out a form, or I can upload a CSV file, and it creates a webhook, if you're familiar with the API calls and webhooks,
Right.
Into an automation system, AI system that basically will change out any words that I tell it to change out. And I don't have to touch anything. So I could upload a list of 10,000 leads that go through it, and it's going to change their name that I'm saying. So, hey, Brian, hey, Stu, I see you working at your business of X, Y, and Z. I see you're working at your business of ABC. So I can filter in different words like that, but it looks like it's a custom built video. And this is literally from a 5, 10, 30-minute training of one bot. It'll go through this entire system. So you're generating leads, finding leads, nurturing the leads. You're having conversations, either selling or you're booking to your calendar, all with that one bot.
Wow. I'm sorry I'm hesitating right here, because being in the industry that I'm in, we're spending money over here to get money over there to get somebody to call. And that's one reason I was excited to learn from you today in this quote here. Don't just adapt to the future, be in the front, lead it, create it. So, there's some people that, what is AI? They may scare them. They don't understand it. Or, one cool thing that you did in Vegas is you polled the audience before you got up and spoke. And you said, okay, do you understand this? Do you understand this? Do you understand this? So a guy like me goes, wow, okay, so not only does he understand all of it, but now he can communicate it on, are you on 1 through 3, 4 to 6? And I forget the exact numbers you used, but you basically had a range to where you could communicate with that person. So
here at Smith Financial Services, we take care of small business owners, 1099 contract workers, and their families. We know insurance can be rough if you're a small business owner, so we are here to make things easy. Visit our website, smithfinancial.services, to learn more.
So Hudson, you've had these opportunities to look at AI, and somebody, my age, in my mid 40s, I look at AI. Well, how do I understand this? What level do I need to understand if I want to come to you? And I remember hearing you speak that, you gave a range. You said, okay, well, have you used it? Do you understand it? You can also, carry it all the way through, create it, train it. So if somebody wanted to come to you, do they need to have prior knowledge? Do they need to understand everything? Do they need to be able to present you? Or how does that work if somebody wanted to hire you to do that?
Yeah, before I make this an easy answer, we're going to go complicated first,
Good.
right? And so really we have to look at AI in 3 phases, right? So we look at phase 1, which is artificial intelligence. That's essentially computers dating back to the 1940s, something like that. AI has been around for a long time. I know someone personally that's been in the world of AI since 2001. And if you've been in Netflix, you've been on Amazon, you've been on Walmart, whatever, you're on these websites, you're essentially giving your data to their AI. And you've been doing this for years and years and years. It wasn't until, ChatGPT came out as a bot that we recognized and saw AI as being something here, right? So that's artificial intelligence. That's AI, okay? We entered the next phase, which was machine learning. So phase number 2. So machine learning is essentially being able to have this AI, quote unquote, right? Be able to learn from data that's being supplied to it. And that data has been from the consumer. Right? So all these companies have been taking the information from us, which we're not getting paid for, and then feeding their systems with it to make their systems smarter. Right? How would you like to have a bunch of free data given to you? That'd be amazing, right? We didn't sign anything for this. They just took it. Okay, cool. So they've built their own stuff. Now, the issue with that is us small dogs, whatever, we have no way of doing this. So there's zero ability for us to keep up with them or to even close the gap at all. We could never, ever get to that point unless you have billions of dollars to spend to be able to collect and get this type of data that they have to be able to feed their systems. Well, fast forward into the release of ChatGPT. OpenAI has been around for a while, and they've always had the artificial intelligence. But it wasn't until they released an actual chat bot to where things became a lot easier for us to understand. And that's what we call deep learning. So now we have a bot, we have artificial intelligence that's not just learning from consumer data being pumped into it, but now it's learning from the World Wide Web. It's learning from Instagram or Facebook or videos, YouTube videos, from content that we put into it. If I upload a PDF document about my company, this bot now knows everything about my company. And so now it's become a lot more user-friendly for the average Joe to go in and say, hey, this is who I am. Here's information about my business. Here's information about how I do social media marketing. Help me develop a social media strategy based off of this information, right? And so now how do we actually take all of this and make it understandable to the quote unquote, the average Joe? Whenever I go up and ask the room, just like you're talking about, when I said, hey, raise your hand if you understand AI on a scale of 0 to 10, if you're a 3 or below. We probably had 50% of the room raise their hand. 3 to 5, there was probably another 20 to 30%. So the majority of the room was a 5 or below when we were looking at it. So how do we actually take all of that information and dissect it in? We got to start with the basics. We got to know and understand how the AI is thinking. Here's the interesting piece is like most people just operate on 3.5, GPT 3.5 versus GPT 4. And we don't understand the difference and why that is. It's because the level of generative thinking or critical thinking, I should say, by that GPT-4 bot. And so it has a different level of understanding. So if you're trying to create a social media post, we have to understand like, hey, it's not going to talk like us. You're not going to get the best response. And that's when people get upset about using AI and they stop using it because of that. I think there was the adoption rate's crazy where you have, it took, I don't remember the exact time frame, but Facebook to be able to hit 1 million subscribers was like a year. WhatsApp was like 5 months. Instagram was like 2.5 months. OpenAI ChatGPT was 5 days.
Wow.
And so, but with that, getting to that 1 million subscribers, then all of a sudden you have, I think it's like a 74% drop off because people didn't know how to use it. Right. And that's where I come in. That's where I help people actually learn the basics of it, to dissect it, to be able to get in, to learn how to speak to it. That's called prompting, prompt engineering. We got to have basically 5 basic things to be able to speak to it, who they are, what their goal is, their identity, the tonality, and the format that we want it in. And we understand those types of things on how to ask a question. We get whatever response back that we want. And there's companies, this is going to be by 2030, this is going to be a $15.7 trillion industry, according to Forbes. And the cool thing is that if you're interested in AI and you want to learn about it, we are such at a beginning phase of it. Yeah, it's hot. It's the latest trend. Everyone's talking about it, but we're such at a beginning phase. Like imagine if you could go back to Amazon and you could get in on Amazon back in 2010.
Wow.
That's where we're at right now with AI and how early we are in the stages of this $15.7 trillion mark by 2030. So if you start to learn some of the basics and you start to implement it into your company, maybe you become someone that actually sells it, builds it into their business, builds it for other business, whatever it is, that the opportunities are just so enormous for it.
That's amazing. And I resonate with that story because I did use AI to put the content under a social media post one time.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine on Facebook sent me a message and he said, that wasn't you. And I'm looking at the content going, no, those words are not what I would say.
Yeah.
Right? So he realized that, saw that, and I've been a little more hesitant to try to use those sources because, but now am I getting my full message across?
Yeah.
Because not everybody knows how I talk. And if you're not, so you're able to create content, you're able to do things. But when you were showing me another video earlier and you were doing something, you had your hands up or doing something like it was, the computer was moving, you weren't touching it. I was watching a video. I mean, that blows my mind. So what were you building there in that?
Yeah, I hit on a couple things here. The first is, how do you get it to talk like you? And that's part of the training process. And so an example could be, a couple different examples, is that we could take a thread of your text messages, right? And say you want it for I'm going to make this up and say for coaching, right? And so you want a specific text message thread that's you coaching one of your clients, that we're going to take that, right? For baseball, whatever it is, for swing practice. So we're going to take that thread on how you communicate to that client. And we're going to train the AI to be able to develop a prompt for your conversational style. Right? So the tonality that you use, the emojis that you use, the slang, the typos that you use. And so now whenever we start to write text messages specifically, right? That's what we're training this one for, is that it'll use your same exact language.
Wow.
We do the same thing for emails. We just extract a couple of your emails that you've written, and do the same thing. What about DMs? What about social media posts? All of that stuff, we got to train the bot on how you speak.
Wow.
But what you were talking about with like, hey, mom, look, no hands, right?
Yeah.
So this is a really cool place with where we're at in the world of AI, because the biggest thing, what I feel like for businesses, is lead generation, right? Whenever I walk into the room and I'll ask the room, like, where's your biggest bottleneck? Where's your struggle? It's lead gen. I can't get enough leads. Well, for a lot of the questions, is it lead gen or is it your conversions? Right? Is it even fulfillment on the back end? You're just losing people, right? But for automated lead gen, it always sounds sexy. Yeah, I can automate my lead gen. We're there.
Wow.
You can automate your lead gen. So what I was showing you is I built a bot and trained it on my click rates, my click speed, where exactly I'm clicking and how I'm clicking, and it gets smarter along the way. Okay. And so, for example, we went to Google, and if you guys don't know this hack, this is a really cool hack. You can go to Google, search your location and do like @gmail.com, and it's going to come up with all of the emails for that specific business. So say, for example, you type in plumbing, right? You do plumbing, quote, @gmail.com, end quote. And it's going to bring up all of the emails for plumbers in your on your local radius, right? So cool. So now you have this giant page of local plumbers. Now you got to filter through, where's the Gmail at? Where's their phone number at? And then copy and paste it over here. And so that takes a lot of time and a lot of work. And then you have to follow through with it. But what I was showing you was literally A to Z in your business lead gen. And not just lead gen, but also sales.
Right.
All right. So example, we had that bot go in and you saw it, right? It clicked, it opened up the Google page, it searched the Google page, it went into my Google Sheet, downloaded that information, first went into ChatGPT, organized it, all the information, put it into a Google Sheet, downloads it as a CSV, uploads it into my CRM system, which goes into an automatic workflow for an email sequence, which then sends it over to a custom AI generated video with my voice speaking directly to them, addressing them by name and company name. And then the rest is history from there, right? We have a chat bot going in, nurturing that lead, either A, booking them on my calendar because it knows my calendar and it'll actually say, hey, we got tomorrow at 8 a.m., 10 a.m., and noon. What time works best for you? Or B, it's actually making the sale.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And one of the reasons that I got into business for myself was because I thought it would allot me to manage my own schedule. Yeah. Right. But as you're talking a minute ago, bro, you're hitting on my pain points without asking. Like, okay, I've got a CRM. I've got to it's an Excel sheet, but y'all call it CSV. There's some, okay. So, and now I've got to be able to get this into the CRM or figure out how this goes and that. And then I'm like, okay, well, did this line go over? That's the wrong phone number. Wait, did I copy that one right? And as I'm seeing that, but here's what I'm hearing. I now have tools that can give me time with my kids and my family.
100%, man.
And I can still take care of customers and I can still, quality products, helping people, doing the right thing, and be able to spend time with the family, as you mentioned. And you've got a beautiful family and I'm blessed with a beautiful family to spend time with, but what's the point in working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, if you don't get to enjoy the time with them? So step into the future with Power Loops, the king of off-grid power, where our proprietary system is changing the game of energy. This isn't just power, it's freedom. The freedom to live, work, and play anywhere, powered by our innovative technology that taps into the Earth's natural energy. Our system is designed for efficiency, durability, and sustainability, ensuring that you have reliable power 365 days a year without harming the planet. Whether you're traveling in the RV, the remote wilderness, or just opting out of traditional power grids, Power Loops provides the ultimate solution. Join us in leading the charge towards a cleaner, greener, and more empowered world. Power Loops, the king of off-grid energy. You know, I'm all about tools. And if you can find something to plug and use, you know, I mean, if we're going to go work on a truck, we're not going to leave all our tools in the shed and go out with a hammer and try to fix a truck, right?
Right.
You know, but how did you get into this world? What intrigued you with this? Because I would love to know what you know, but I don't know if I could. You know, how do you put all that together? Does AI tell you what to do?
Yeah, yes. AI taught me how to do that, right?
Yeah,
it did. And so that's a great question. And so for anyone to start, I always recommend a minimum of 18 minutes a day, right? If you can dedicate 18 minutes per day over the course of a year, 365 days. Like I was listening to your Nick Hyder podcast, right? And there's 366 days this year,
this
right?
one, yep.
Is that you will have accumulated 109.5 hours. And by having that in a specific niche, like AI as an example, is that you'll be more knowledgeable than 80% of the population.
Okay.
Just by 18 minutes a day, that's all that it takes, right? And so backwards is that, as I mentioned, I used to run an online health and fitness coaching business. It still runs. I just don't run it. It runs itself. And so I had started to build this business. I had built a couple businesses, one in person, one online, and then this one that's still running online now. But to the point to where it was taking up so much of my time. And I was coaching at a high ticket, high level individual, and it was just taking up so much of my time. So as you're saying, like, cool, I built an awesome, successful business, but now I don't have much time to spend with my family. Like, how cool is this? So I was like, what if we could just automate this? And so I started bringing in some automations into my business. Hey, here's your weekly check-in. Don't forget to fill it out. Right? Cool. We started there. People loved it, right? Because I had to hold them accountable to it. And sometimes I'm human. I would forget to send it to them. And then I was like, oh, I can attach first name, contact first name. It's going to address them by name. So now it's going to say, hey, Brian, happy Friday. Don't forget to fill out your weekly check-in form. Right. People loved it. They thought that I was sending directly to them. I was, but I could send it out with just one click to, 100 different people. And so it became really cool. And I was like, well, if it works on Friday for the weekly check-in message, what if it works on Monday? Hey, Brian. Hey, Stu. Hey, whoever. How'd your weekend go? Were you able to stick to plan? People loved that additional check-in. And so I started implementing in all these different little automations throughout my business, and it all of a sudden compiled a year later. And then all of a sudden we have AI here to drive it even faster. And the business became 100% automated. And if, it's the old equation, leads times freedom, or leads times conversion equals freedom. Right. So how many leads do you have? How many are you converting? What's your conversion rate? And hopefully it's high enough that you have some level of freedom, which gives you time back with your family. And if you don't wake up to money, I say, if you don't wake up to money in your bank account, then you don't quite have that equation dialed in yet.
Yeah. And there's one thing that jumped out to me when you were talking just then is there have been, countless times as a former, coach and working with people, that I've literally taken my phone and messaged each individual person. And I want to reach out to those people, right? But I really don't help them by sending the message because they may not check in, they may not follow through, or maybe they are. But when you've got a good product and you're doing good things, you want to help more people.
Yeah.
So creating that check-in, but when they respond to it, now you can see and help more people because I didn't spend 2 hours sending the messages. I could spend 2 hours helping people.
100%.
And that's what I'm hearing, brother. It's like, I don't waste my time trying to say, hey, don't forget to take your picture.
Yes.
Right? So,
yes. 100%. My original mission, and you can go back and you check my paperwork, was to help as many people as I can in the world, right? And that's a pretty generic one, but mine was to reverse the obesity epidemic that we're facing, and to where 75% of the population is overweight or obese. 75%. Right. And I lived in this weird bubble in the CrossFit world where it's like, I don't see this, but then I'd take my kids to the children's museum or to the zoo and I was like, here it is. Right. And so fast forward 10 years later and I look back and I was like, dude, I've only helped 5,000 people. Like, that's a lot of people. but it's not.
Right.
In the 75% of the population is either overweight or obese. Like, I didn't even make a dent. Like, nobody even knows me. And so then I thought, what if I could take the systems and processes that I've built that have saved me time to go have this impact on this number of people, and I could go help 5,000 coaches go help 5,000 people. Now that's when things really shifted for me. It's like, let's drive. Now that we figured out this AI thing, let's drive, let's double down on it. Not 18 minutes, but now we're spending 12 hours for a year per day learning AI. And that's what it took to get me to where I'm at now.
So this is not something you just came up with last week and you're like, hey, AI train, we're jumping on this and rocking and rolling.
Right,
so awesome, man. And you've helped a lot of people and doing your business. What's really, you know, I love your energy, bro. Every video I see, everything, you're smiling, you're happy, you're if you're not, you find it somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, is that come from this freedom that you've experienced with the AI to where you know that those things are going to get done, those tasks are going to get done because that's able to create that freedom. And as you present yourself, like what gives you that energy, bro? I'm a little envious of it. I've seen you on stage, I've seen you coach, I've seen you in here, you walk in, you're doing the videos, you're getting slapped in the face by the guy at the program. I can't wait to see that video when he is a champion this year.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, I forgot your name right now, but we'll
Cody.
Cody.
I think it's Cody.
Cody, yeah. Sorry, I do not want to piss him off, right?
Yeah, right.
Because I did go
Those
watch
big
his
old
YouTube.
mitts, right?
Yes.
He's got a giant hand.
But what gives you that you wake up like you got like, is it that you're helping so many people? What does that look like?
Yeah, man, I was put here on this earth to help other people. Like 100%, that is my sole mission. And whatever capacity that looks like, I serve and I coach at the program, helping other men break through their own stories, right? Through faith, family, fitness, and finance in that order, particularly on purpose, right? And, you know, just being there for my family is obviously a super huge passion of mine. I don't know beyond that. Like, I think that right there is what drives me. You know, how can I walk closer in the image of God? That's always number one for me. And it's just like, dude, like, if he has the joy for us to be here and to still accept us, like how can we not have that joy every single day to be able to do the exact same thing? Yeah. And then for me to wake up next to my best friend, it's like, dude, you could have a sleepover with your best friend every freaking day. Are you kidding me? Like, this is an amazing life to have. Yeah. And so what is there to be upset about? You know, of course, you know, I'll put the hard frame on every now and then whenever I have to, but that's part of the game. That's part of, you know, example with the program and helping dudes become better dudes, and making sure that they know, but also we can also switch gears and have a really freaking fun time.
Absolutely. And as we kind of, you know, get to the end of this show and you've provided so much information, I can't go back and watch. I can't wait to go back and watch just because I know as I'm sitting here, I'm like, wait, how did he say that? What did he say here? Do you have a YouTube? How could people like search up and find out a little bit more information?
Yeah, you guys can check me out on YouTube at Hudson Wikoff. On there, I have a bunch of videos literally walking people through. I mean, I'm in the middle of the process of walking people through how to build an entire AI business. And it goes for any niche, any business, any industry at all, how to create a CEO bot, how to create a social media marketing bot, how to retrain them, how to go through advertising, what are the different ways to build advertising, automation, AI, marketing, sales, fulfillment, internal systems and processes, creating SOPs, like literally everything. So you guys can check that on YouTube. Reels are basically cut-ups of the long form into short form, right? Because we're all trying to create more content. And so on Instagram's just going to be at Hudson Wikoff, and then same thing with Facebook. But Instagram and YouTube probably the main go-tos.
Well, I tell you, of all the things you said, the thing that got me was, you know, how could you not wake up happy and having God in your life and getting the sleepovers with your best friend and just the way that you look at things, man. It's so. Do you have you know, as we kind of conclude here, do you have a quote? Do you have something that if you want to look in that camera just to share something? Because as you know, I've known this for a long time. You're getting to experience it in the program. There's a lot of men out there that you know, sometimes Nick will say punch, punch, bear hug or jab, jab, bear hug. I'm sorry, but you know, like, is there something that you could shed some light? Just maybe they're watching it, maybe they don't own their own business, but they're like, hey, what's this Hudson? He's talking about God, he's talking about AI, but what is something that you could share that would just like maybe inspire or help, you know?
Yeah, I think that this goes for any dads out there, and this is a stolen quote. Your sons will become you and your daughters will marry you. And for me, when I heard that quote, I was literally just punched in the face and I broke down and cried because I knew the man, when I heard that quote, I was not the man that I want my son to become. I didn't want my daughter to marry that man. And that's when I knew that I had to change my life, man. Yeah. I had to change my life. I'm getting emotional right now just saying it because it still punches me in the face. And it's a constant pursuit every single day. I'm not that guy, right? I know that there's still opportunity every single day, although every single day is it's a blessed day. And like, I know I'm making progress and becoming better. There's still opportunity to become that man that I want my son to become that man that I accept my daughter marrying. Because sorry, brother, in the future, like you got some high expectations, man. But that's what works for me. That's what hit me the hardest. And I don't know if it's going to hit anyone else. I hope it does. But if we can just impact one person, that's what it's all about.
Bro, that's awesome, man. And like I said, this has been a phenomenal show because, you know, you're creating the future and you're helping so many people. And at the end of the day, you're a godly man.
Yes.
And I appreciate our friendship. And I look forward to what can I do to help you? I'm trying to come up with something. I don't know what I can do to help you other than share this for everybody. But
we're here to serve each other, brother.
Man, I appreciate it so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching Podcast on Wheels.